Thank you all for the patience. I will call the meeting to order at 7:14 and we'll do a roll call. Commissioner Lullen. Here. Commissioner Castaneda.
Here.
Commissioner Bussey. Here. Commissioner Wan.
Here.
Commissioner Marino. Absent. Council liaisons. Not present. Staff present. Great. I would like to take a motion for the approval of the agenda, which you shall have in front of you. Anyone move? Aye.
So I have a question. I made a request of talking about the 230 G Street, the belongs to this downtown designated historical district. How come it's not there? And I made a specific request. I even called for a meeting, and it's not here. And I feel the bicycle, and it's not very related to.
Well, if you want, I can explain it during the communication items. How about? But it's not on the agenda. You're right.
Yeah. So I just feel we have communication issues here. I only receive the email. It's always like a copy to me.
I think that's a different question. I think right now we're talking about the agenda,
so
but I can explain.
I do feel
yeah.
my request is not present on here, so I don't think I want to add that item to here.
Well, we can't add it to the agenda, but we can add the any information and questions you have under the number 3, which is right after this, which is the brief announcements from staff commissioners and council liaisons.
Yeah, I do feel, I have been served with this committee for more than 4 years. I do feel after you become the chair, this committee become inactive and it's not really care about the historical buildings, or you are doing something by yourself. So yeah,
I promise that I am
want
just working at my real job and not doing anything that is historic preservation related. There is not a lot of historic preservation activity at the moment in the city of Davis.
There are. The many items come to, I read it in City of Davis Enterprise, there are many events going on, and we have never catch any of this. So I do feel you are important to this position.
Okay. We had a motion to approve the agenda by Commissioner Lully. Commissioner Castaneda second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Okay.
9.
1 opposed.
9.
Thank you. We'll move on to brief announcements from staff first, then commissioners, and then I guess we'll do public comments. Okay, so staff. Yes, thank you, Eric.
Okay. Yeah, some communication items. We haven't met since September, so it has been a while. So I've got a few things to go through. I guess first is there were some items we had talked about before from previous HRMC work, and I just wanted to give you an update on that because related to like the Elmwood neighborhood and the bike lanes nomination, one of them was the Elmwood neighborhood where I think the HRMC determined that it was not eligible.
Yes.
And there's supposed to be a resolution to council to that effect. When I looked, I could not find that it had been done yet. So.
Okay.
So the city has a transportation commission and the bicycle commission. How come,
Ning, I'm just kind of going through these communication items, so I'm just,
so
I'll give you
that's
an
my
update.
question. I believe you are not working on the historical management. You're off track.
I'm explaining some of these items right now, what we are
point,
doing.
I don't think she's.
Could we have like a point of order for the meeting that when someone is speaking that we don't interrupt them, and then we'll have time for everyone to speak. So
That
Eric,
was with, thank you. That was with the Elmwood neighborhood, so it's something I'll follow up on. And I think same with the bike lanes nomination. I checked with SHPO and they indicated it was not sent to them, so I'll check into that.
So you're going to check on bike lanes being sent, and then we need to follow up with a resolution to the council?
I don't think you need to do anything more. I think that was the direction to be done. It just had not.
Okay.
Staff had not followed through on that.
Yeah, I think we just wanted to make sure we had closed the loop on any historic resources.
Right.
Okay.
Another one, just as an item, is the Amtrak depot. The city did a pest report, so there are some things related to the building that may need to be repaired or maintained. There's no proposal yet, but they identified some things on the exterior and a little bit on the interior. We talked to them about just having to do that, having to repair in kind. It seems like that would probably be an administrative COA to the extent there's anything done, but it's
like
pretty
pests,
minimal.
like rodents, or pests like bugs?
bit of that, maybe some coming through in some areas, and then there's some dry rot, is my
So,
understanding.
my question, I'm looking at the city, commissions web page, there's a bicycle lane, transportation, and the street safety commission. What you're talking about, your agenda has nothing to do with the historical resource management. And it's about bicycle lane, it's about street sign, it's not our job. So I don't know if, I don't actually understand what is historical resource management,
So
It's
the bike lanes-
irrelevant
Yeah,
to
Commissioner,
our
I think that-
commission and what is going on. And I request many meetings. Erica, you always, you don't even
Commissioner-
respond. So I just feel, I don't think Erin is good for this job, and
Well,
I don't, you are not good enough.
Ning-
Are you shining
Thank you.
more?
Ning,
Thank you.
we're kind of meeting right now, we're meeting today.
That's
on
why
some
I'm
of these items.
challenging, because this is not a historical resource, it's a management, agenda. This is like a bicycling transportation, and this is the first commission. We have exactly what they should do, and they have like different commissions. And what happened to this commission?
I
And
think,
we-
Ning,
like-
I think we may
like
need to
3
take
or
a
4 months, we don't
Can we
have
call a
any
recess,
meeting.
Erin?
So
We'll
what,
call a recess.
I heard,
I'll take our recess, thank you, brief recess.
Okay, we can
Meeting
resume.
is back in order, 7:22. So thank you for following up on the bike lanes nomination, which is a historic resource on the National Register, and the train station, which is a historic resource in the city of Davis. Did you have any other updates, any other development projects?
Yeah, just a couple of things. One thing, we are also still working with ESA, Environmental Science Associates, on some additional surveys in the downtown, hoping to get some more done. So we'll kind of update you on that when that occurs. There's sort of a timeline to that, so we don't have too much time left, but I'd like to get a few more done.
That would be great.
There is also an administrative COA, the certificate of appropriateness for an ADU. That's an accessory dwelling unit in the College Park area. So this ADU, it's actually replacing an existing ADU. It's in the back, in the rear. It's not affecting the existing building at all. And so we've done that noticing. But because it's College Park and the building is, or the property is a contributor, we had told them we need to do the COA.
just for your information, I'm recording this meeting now, thank you.
Then we also have, what our liaison from the Natural Resources Commission wanted the staff to bring to their commissions the Environmental Recognition Awards and just notify you of them. So if there's anyone you know who might qualify, or you want to take a flyer, feel free to take one. If there are folks who or groups that you think qualify, you can look at some of the criteria. I think the information's online, so that's just much passive. Then, Commissioner Wan asked about 240 G Street. So there was a notice, we are processing an application, a design review to redevelop 240 G Street, which is the Ace Housewares building. And this is,
The one that's next to the little parking lot by
The-
G Street Pub,
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly, the one behind. So not the
not the main one
Not-
that's operating now.
right,
The
not-
vacant one.
But, so
Not the
it's the
hardware.
parking lot, right, because I went there, I cannot find the address and the parcel. I don't even think that's a separate parcel, so my question is, how could that, a parking lot, be developed? There's
Yeah,
nothing
it-
to demolish, that's my question. And we are historical resources as commission, how come? I just feel it's off tracking, is bicycle and the street sign, it's not our, job.
So it's not the parking lot, it's the building behind the parking lot. And that
It's
one
not
had
building.
been surveyed, what I explained to Commissioner Wan is that it has been surveyed and it was determined not eligible. Those were surveys that the commission accepted, and so there was no historic issue to review by the commission. So it was not.
I went there, so there's Ace store, right, it's behind 240. That's 240 G Street. And then there's a parking lot, and then there's 38, I couldn't find 230, that parcel, where is that?
It's 240G, that's the Ace Hardware, the long building.
You mean it is the 240G will be demolished?
Yes.
It says 230 from the newspaper, Maybe I got it
I'm
wrong.
not sure. I think there should be 240. Maybe if
It is
then it was
240.
it's 240.
Okay.
It should be 240. And then I think I have just one more item is, I think the commission is aware that the council is exploring ideas for reorganizing the commissions. It's not an item for discussion, but it's more just to let you know. They have some, one thing they're looking at for the HRMC is potentially combining it with the planning commission, but they're still exploring what that means, kind of how that would function if that would occur. The council subcommittee is working on those details for the various commissions. So we don't have anything to report on it specifically, but I think when there's more detail, we can let you know, or whatever direction they give to the commissions, we can let you know.
So the subcommittee, who are the subcommittee members? Can I join the subcommittee?
This is the council subcommittee, so not
Not the historical, because, yeah, I found out that many, I don't know if I actually come to the city or not. The college park, it just totally changed. I don't know if you're aware of that or not, the streets. Even the Loyola Drive, where I live, it was a street, street now it's quicker. And also Sycamore Line. I don't know how that happened. I believe that the Chinese Communist Party has this technology to alter your parcel size and your neighborhood that can actually insert house into. I want to bring everybody's attention to that. I believe because historical resource management committee, we need to pay attention to those things and leave the bicycle transportation to the specific bicycling transportation and the street safety commission. That's my suggestion.
That was all the communication I had. Unless
Thank you.
commissioners have any.
Do any commissioners have any questions about these very important informational items? I have one about College Park and the district management plan. Where perhaps is it in the city process?
It's
Still stuck?
It's still stuck.
Okay.
Yes, it's big.
Is there any hope of it becoming unstuck?
There is, I don't have a timetable on that.
Okay.
I think it's more staff resources and
Okay.
having the time to look at it and spend more time and also work with Public Works. Because
Okay.
I think a lot of the focus is on the streetscape and the
Right.
kind of
With the
that
setting.
part of it, the setting more than other items, and so that requires Public Works' involvement.
Okay, well, we would love to move that forward and officially make College Park the historic district that it has always been recognized as. That would be one of my main goals in this coming year, which was my also main goal last year, so I would love to see that come to fruition. So if there's anything we can do as a commission, please let us know, but I do think it's sort of out of our hands at this point. And I'm sure the residents are also wondering, because they put some input into it several years ago, so.
I searched the city's website. I noticed in the 1980s, actually, College Park has been designated. If you go
Yes,
to the
it has
old
been
document, it has been
designated. Yes, but the
Now, why-
problem was that the ordinance required a district management plan for official recognition. In the city of Davis, the ordinance itself says we have to have a district management plan for it to operate as a historic district and have the protections of the historic district. And so that plan was paid for in part by the city and in part by the CLG grant that we received as being a certified local government commission. And then the city has to review it before it can be adopted, and because there are so many things that deal with the streetscape, Public Works has a lot of opinions, I guess.
So what is?
So yes, it has been recognized and people have been operating as it is, but legally, we need to complete the circle for it to really be a district.
So it's because the budget problem. What is the problem? Why cannot we operate?
We've done our job as a commission, we've given it to the city, and the city needs to finish it. We can do no more.
Oh, okay.
So-
But that's in the 1980s until
Well,
40 years later.
yes.
It was designated already.
Yes.
So it's not continuous. It is
It is
continuous.
designated, it's just not, it cannot be official in the city of Davis without this district management plan, which is the document that deals with how people could make improvements to their homes.
So it's not official by the city. But if
Not
that-
quite yet, yes, but we will get there. I have confidence in this. Any other announcements? Otherwise, we'll move on to public comment. At this time, any member of the public may address the commission on matters not listed on this agenda or are listed on the consent calendar. If you're in person, you have 3 minutes. I don't believe we had any written public comments.
No written.
Please introduce yourself. Let us know your comment. Thank you.
My name's Alan Miller, and I'm a resident of Old East Davis and have been for, almost 40 years, and was a member of the original Old East Davis Neighborhood Association, and now, which had a different name, but now I'm in the current one. The Historical Commission has always been extremely important to us. We have a historic overlay, which we thought was a bit more protective than it was when we agreed to that, instead of for historical district status. But at the time, there were city documents that said how important neighborhood character and historical resources were, and I don't remember exactly where those were. I think there are people who know, but now it just seems to be all about dense housing. And I'm actually for dense housing downtown, always have been. And, some plans for parking would be nice, but I'm massively concerned about yet another step away from recognizing and admiring our history, which is dissolving you. And I don't know that I know any of you. I used to come all the time when we were fighting trackside and when we were trying to deal with various developments in our neighborhood. But this commission I've been to dozens and dozens of times over the years, over the decades, and I was just surprised when I went to the city council meeting where this was first announced, or the week after, and people were coming up, and almost everybody was against these plans, and nobody stood up for historical. I mean, nobody came. A lot of people came from the other commissions, and I really hope that you come. Obviously there's some internal fighting here or whatever, but I hope somebody comes, and because I've been to also a lot of planning commission meetings, and they are, no, I'm
We
I'm
can't
speaking.
interrupt public comment.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, the planning commission is nothing like this. And Greg Rowe came and said, "Oh, we can handle it." Well, your WP, I went in front of my house. I love that thing. I've fought for those things numerous times when they've been threatened. And Pony Express Trail. I mean, these are wonderful things. And the number of times I've advocated for saving the Amtrak station and all that. It's just the planning would not do that. They don't give a crap. And I am really, really concerned, and I really want you to stick up for your commission, and that's why I came here tonight. Bapu was talking about, like, oh, it's just a bunch of privileged people who are on these commissions and all that. I mean, if I read his comments right, I thought that was one of the most insulting things I'd ever heard a city council member say. And, you give your time, and then you're privileged. I don't know, maybe I read his comments wrong, but that certainly is how I took it. So please stand up for yourselves. Please, the Davis history means everything to me. And I want to see progress. I also want to see historical preservation. So I hope I have a historical commission to go to next year.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
All right, any other public comments? We appreciate public comment. All right, we'll move on to the consent calendar. We have one thing, so do I have the Historical Resources Management Commission minutes from September 18th? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from September?
I usually like to stay and see what's going on, especially because you get into the agenda, but I actually have another commitment,
Okay,
so
thank
good
you very
night.
much.
Yes.
I motion. Commissioner Bassi moves. Second. Castaneda second.
Were you there?
Any discussion?
I have a question. Was Lindsay on September meeting? I don't think you was there.
I was sick then. I was out.
Yes, how could you move?
She can move, but she can't vote. She can move it.
Okay.
Okay, I
Someone
don't
else
know.
like to move in a
Because if you
second?
don't know that there, you cannot even tell if it's right or wrong.
Do we have any changes, or were the minutes acceptable? All right. Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Everyone opposed? All right, motion passes, thank you. All right, we have a business item here, the vice chair selection. I have been the chair since no one else volunteered to do so. Back in the beginning
I
of
volunteer.
2023.
I feel this committee is not active. I want to make it, more active. Because September to now is like half a year. I don't know what you guys were doing. So we never meet. I volunteer to be the vice chair.
Anyone else would like to volunteer to be the vice chair? Commissioner Castaneda, new to our group, thank you. Anyone else? How do we select the chair? Do we know, do I appoint one, or do we vote?
I believe
Do
it's
you
by
recall?
vote. Did you want to speak at all about just generally? I mean, you don't need to, but, or if there's any discussion.
Sure. Commissioner Wan, why would you like to be the vice
Yeah,
chair?
so I've been in Davis for more than 30 years. And I served this committee for 4 years, more than 4 years now. And myself, I am the granddaughter of the lost Chinese Empire. And my grandpa was grown up here. And they have a house in downtown, actually. 340 G Street was the place my parents were, born in that house. So Davis is just so dear to me, and so maybe I'm more emotional than your guys, and that's why I believe this historical resources management company is very, very important. And I am the owner of this fund called the New One So Park. If you heard about that, is my grandma is the lost empress, left a huge amount of money and my name, but that fund has been stolen by those Chinese Communist Party member. Her name is Shannon Guo, is a communist inspector. Actually, the CCP, to organize so many of them come to grow up with me, become my friends, and then stealing from me, from Wells Fargo to UC Davis. And this fund is called the New One So Park, supporting so many activities.
Commissioner Wan, can we keep it to this particular commission?
Yeah, so I want to say, so the city of Davis is very important to me, and I do feel I have if the city feel like a country park needs money to make it, designated or something like that, maybe I can work on that. And I am the owner of the fund called the New One So Park. It's my grandma set up. It's huge.
Okay.
It's like a church
Thank you.
for the Republic of China.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
It's
that's
very
me.
interesting.
And I just feel I'm very emotional. I want to let Dan know because I don't know how. And I'm a realtor, so I work around the city, driving around the city. I know the street, how it looks, and I was working on designated the college park. I take more than hundreds of pictures for each houses. Maybe
Yes,
two
thank you for
2
your
years
volunteering.
ago.
We really appreciate that.
Yeah,
Very
so
nice,
that's why I want to let them know I would prefer allow me to be the vice chair because it's so important. This historical designation. I want to see the city be preserved.
Okay, thank you. And Commissioner Castaneda, please tell us a little about yourself.
Yes, so I am a PhD candidate in history. I specialize in California history. I'm very passionate about the city of Davis. I'm glad to continue to be a resident here. I think that I've worked a lot in local history, and I think some of the projects that we have coming up, especially like the WPA projects, are going to be things that it's really important that we have historians who can contribute to this information. I think I would like to also contribute to the continued professionalization of this commission, especially as we move into a period of discussing what the future of this commission might look like. And I think, I would like to be on the commission for the rest of my term. And I think, as Commissioner Montgomery may step down from the chair position, I think it's important that we have somebody who's ready to step into that role in the future.
Sounds like on vacations.
Yes,
so.
yes.
I don't always check the HRMC
So are you
calendar.
sat down?
I have not stepped
No,
down, this is
no,
for
no,
the
no.
vice chair, I am the
interested
chair,
to,
yes. Yes.
Fill in that position because I do feel from September to now, it's too many months. We're not active,
Your objection to the lack of meetings has been noted, thank you. All right, I suppose let's, it's a one or the other kind of vote.
It's a
So,
vote.
Commissioner Castaneda, do you vote for yourself?
Yes.
Commissioner Bussey?
Castaneda.
Commissioner Lilly?
Castaneda.
Commissioner Wan?
Me.
Okay. Commissioner Castaneda, thank you for serving as vice chair, thank you very much. I appreciate that, and I do appreciate more historians on the committee. I do have a degree in historic preservation, but it has been some time. So let's move on to our items. We have
But I do
three
want to
items, four items.
challenge, if Montgomery doesn't have time, because, 4 or 5 months, you have never holds.
I do have time.
Then maybe you should step down. I
Thank
can
you
do the chair.
for that. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I think you should step down. Are you Shannon Guo?
I would say,
I
name,
know the CCP actually, hi ho, are you Shannon Guo?
Let's take a recess. Thank you. Okay, we'll reconvene at 7:42. Thank you. I don't think we have any here from the museum.
Well,
correct? Yes,
yeah,
so you have a
so
museum report on their behalf?
we do, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Marilee was going to come, but she emailed me today, said she wasn't feeling well, so she apologized for that, but she did
Okay.
email me a
Do you want to
report.
pass it?
She asked me to read it out loud, but I made a couple copies.
That's okay. I think we can pass it as we go through. Yeah, thank you.
So this is the report from the Hattie Weber Museum, and usually she's reading it anyway, I think. So she says,
Yes.
we continue to have the problem of water mysteriously appearing on the floor of the museum restroom. We discovered a large amount of it at the end of the day on Saturday, February 17th, and we wiped it up with paper towels. A large portion of the floor covering, especially near the supply closet, has been damaged. There's other water damage to the wood paneling, probably not from this source. We again reported the leak to Tracy Reynolds, our liaison with the city, and we're concerned that if the leak worsens, it may damage part of our collection. On a happier note, we have a new volunteer, Holly Sloslick. Holly is a librarian at Dixon's High School and junior high schools. She is especially interested in helping us to make some of our exhibits more child-friendly. She's already recommended we reposition our desk from Central Davis School so that young children can try it out. We've also ordered some modern chalkboards and chalk for them to experiment with. Our other volunteer, Lulu Zhang, has recently put up her exhibit, Ride a Double-Decker, Spare the Air, about UCD's red double-decker buses, which were purchased from London by the Associated Students in 1967. This is especially timely because one of the original buses was recently returned to England after having been sold to a museum there. The exhibit presents the history of the buses, stressing their connection with the student liberalism of the 1960s. It's informative and colorful and has attracted much attention. Lulu's next project will be an exhibit of the 19th and early 20th century Chinese agricultural workers in the Davis area. She'll present her research from the perspective of a contemporary Chinese woman. We've recently received donations of some exciting items. A large painting of the Pacific Standard Life Insurance Company, or building rather, which stood at 3820 Charles Road. Thanks to Eric Lee for arranging this. A child's desk rescued from the demolition of the old Davis Central School, and materials from the Robert Laban family. These include minutes of the Davis Home Economics Club, which supported UCD's Home Economics Department during the 1940s and 50s, and copies of articles on controversial issues of the 70s and 90s, such as fluoridation, distributed to members of the local discussion group. We've also received memorial donations totaling $1,300, tributes to Mary Lee Thompson and Dennis Dingemans. We're considering using them to replace the roof on the WPA storage building. I'll post it online with the rest of the materials, but that's a report from the museum.
So I have a question. What are those, commissioners we had before? It's all new face. You know, I worked with them and now you just vote me out and you, how long have you worked for here? Is this Dan, is this your first meeting?
No, second. And I started a new term, so the other people have their termed out, so they can't be on the commission anymore, but they're no longer on.
Because there's so many months we don't even have a meeting. There's something going on.
Commissioner Wong, we have noted your objection to the lack of meetings. I don't think we need to bring it up anymore. Thank you.
Is he any Mema?
Next, thank you for the museum report. Next is the Pony Express Historic Trail signage. So I think there is a small presentation regarding this, and we have an informational report. We had a question. Commissioner Bussey does work for Caltrans in a different district. Should she abstain from discussion and voting, or is the different district enough?
I think we decided that it was okay to, to participate because it's
Okay.
different districts.
Okay,
Something they did, and it's
That's
been
how I
okay,
feel
but
as
we
well. I just
appreciate
wanted to
the
confirm that we
information.
were on the side of
Yeah.
whatever we were on the side of.
And tonight we have Ryan Chapman, our
Thank
city traffic engineer and Assistant Director of Public Works here to present it. I think for us, there's no formal action needed, but we are asking for a kind of vote of support because we brought to City Council this proposal, and it would be good for them to understand or know how the commission feels since it bears on historic related
So I
issues.
worked at the Institute of Transportation Studies as an IT manager of UC Davis for 16 years. So I'm very familiar with Caltrans and all the transportations, just for your information.
Thank you. So, as Eric said, I'm Ryan Chapman. I'm with the Public Works Department, and I got a request from Caltrans. In essence, they wanted to give us 4 signs to put up designating the original route of the Pony Express to the City of Davis. A little bit of background: Congress established the Pony Express Trail a few years ago, and the National Park Service has been giving out grants to state agencies to sign the approximate location of the trail or where it intersects existing roads today. That's kind of a historic interest. Caltrans reached out to us, and in the process of reviewing this, I asked to bring it before you all to get some input about whether or not actually signing this and highlighting it as something that the City of Davis wants to pursue, and just get some general feedback about what's going on. So I've really got 2 exhibits from the package I wanted to highlight. And the first one here is just a map of the town. The green trail is the approximate route that the Pony Express took. Caltrans has said they will provide signs for 4 locations in the city, 2 locations in the university, or on university property. I've already forwarded those to the university for their own consideration.
So what kind of signs?
It's in the packet.
It's
We'll about to get to that.
yeah, we'll get to that in 1 second. Like I said, these are approximate locations. I definitely don't think they were making a right angle through downtown Davis, but it's probably the best fit that we're going to be able to find. And if we go to the last page, actually, I can show the signs.
Okay.
Is that Loyola Drive?
Yes, it's a portion of it's on Tulip, and I think a portion of it is also on Loyola.
Oh,
And-
in front of my house. I need to pay attention. What kind of sign?
This one?
Actually, yes. So the signs would actually be Pony Express Historic Route, and then it would have a designation of how many miles. And these are pretty much set up as a state highway sign, and it would just be the historic interest, white lettering on a brown background, custom logo for the Pony Express Trail, but the rest of it is just really to highlight as a point of interest for anyone that might be on the street that this was what occurred here.
So that's a bicycle sign, right?
No.
It's a highway. You make Loyola a highway?
It's to designate that street was used at some point as the Pony Express. Are you familiar with the Pony Express? Are you familiar with the Pony
I'm
Express? Okay. So, that's,
Okay, that's good.
But yes, these are the standard signs that we would put up for any historical interest on any street or highway in, well, actually the entire nation. It's not really a custom sign, and that's not really what Caltrans is proposing to offer us. This signage would be consistent with what's being placed throughout the entire length of the trail across multiple states.
It's 2 by
it
3,
looks like 2 by
basically,
Yeah.
the 2 signs together, because they're 2 separate things,
Yeah.
but next to each other? Okay.
And at 25 miles an hour, it will look like a normal size sign.
Yeah, that's what I figured, yeah, that's not giant, it's just a normal
Um,
size.
Kind of like the historic 40 signs, right?
Yeah, approximately the same size as the Lincoln 40 signs. This would be a little, or the Lincoln Highway signs, excuse me. This would be a little taller because we're adding the third block, but that's really what the setup is.
Do you have the details on, where the signs are located or not?
I do, in the exhibit.
Should we
and
go back
actually- Yeah,
I come in front of my house. I'm 2524 Loyola Drive.
I don't know if it's that specific, but
25.
like, so this is the location one, right? Sign 1, 2, 3.
yeah, if you go to,
On Tulip and 8th, basically, it's on 8th, I think, right?
It's on.
yes,
It's on East
The-
8th,
I've got
very
East
near
8th
Tulip.
near Hunt Way. I've got Tulip at East 8th.
Where is?
Go
is
up a
Loyola
couple
sign?
more, at the beginning of these color panels, so I was walking through it.
I don't think it goes, it does not go across Loyola, and there's no sign on
This
Loyola.
is the first one.
Okay.
Yeah, so, yeah, I misspoke. So the first sign heading west, so starting on the east and heading west, would be on East Street, 8th Street, right, when you turn off the Tulip.
Okay.
The next sign would go on 8th Street near Hunt, so this is J, this is K, it would kind of be right here, facing, again, westbound traffic.
Well, they only go one direction, the signs?
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
This one's on E Street, just south of 7th. This one is facing,
Seven.
I believe, north. And then the second one would be in the downtown area, 2nd Street at E, just north, on E, just north of 2nd. The other two locations, like I said, are on university property.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, interesting.
So Seventh, this historical, it's Seventh and D. Seventh and D has a very beautiful house there.
7th and E? Is it 7th and E?
Is that the E that
Yes.
house?
So that 7th and E is where the sign is going to be.
Oh, okay, Seventh, suppose it's E, I think the Woodland house, go take a look.
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
if you're interested.
I would love.
Earlier today, I decided to, because I spend a lot of time in Folsom for personal reasons, but I thought that Sacramento was the end of the Pony Express line, from the way I had learned it. But I found out that what was common was they took a boat from Sacramento to San Francisco, and San Francisco is technically the end of the Pony Express line. But there were 20 occasions, 20,
Okay.
when the rider either missed the boat or the boat got stuck or something or other happened, and they took a horse, like they did on the rest of the trail, from Sacramento to San Francisco, and that's how they came to come through Davis.
Okay, I guess I was not aware of this history involving Davis. Is this called the California Express then? Because there's the California and the Pony Express. I just don't know the two historic national trails, so.
I read it on the National Park
Okay,
website,
yeah.
so I assume it's part of the regular Pony Express trail.
Okay. Well,
It wasn't used a lot. 'cause-
I'm enthusiastic for someone else paying for neat signs in our city,
Yeah.
so.
It's really cool.
Yes, I'm enthusiastic, so I will vote to support the project. Does any other commissioners have thoughts or questions regarding the signs themselves or the placement of the signs or the size of the signs? Not that we have anything to do about that, but do you have any concerns? Seeing none, I will take a vote expressing support for the project. I don't think we need to move to do that since it's not official. We're just voting. You want us to move?
So,
Yeah, you should.
Are we want us to move? Okay, I will move.
so just
Yeah.
my plan to close this out,
Okay.
one, Caltrans needs to give us the signs by May so they can close out their grant.
Okay,
If this commission supports it, my next step would be a resolution with the city council accepting or supporting the placement of these signs. Vote for that would actually be very helpful.
okay, perfect, yes.
So when we say we
yeah.
support, what do we can bring to the project?
we support Caltrans giving us 4 signs to install on the city streets at the locations that we discussed.
Does anyone so move?
I will move.
Commissioner Juan moves, a second.
I'll second.
Commissioner Raleigh seconds. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed? None noted. You have your vote expressing our delightful support for this fascinating project.
Very exciting.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to something equally as exciting, WPA sidewalk stamps, a draft report and inventory. Eric, I'll let you and Karen
Sure.
take that.
Yeah, I just have a brief intro. This was a project that's been started some years back before my time, but we have a community volunteer here, Karen Moore, who conducted this inventory and provided this draft report, to, I guess, to the commission and to us, and, is wanting to present and ask for, commission input, and also even direction on it. As the kind of report says, there's a number of WPA markings in the sidewalk and the curb from the Works Progress Administration programs that happened in the city, and over time they can be destroyed or damaged. And so the interest here was to try and preserve them, certainly by identifying them and potentially taking other steps. I think it's more so than College Park, it's essentially within unless it's on the private property, it's within the purview of Public Works because it's within the right-of-way. So it would be something we'd have to coordinate with them pretty closely and get their input on. I could kind of talk to them informally, but not in any in-depth way. So if that was something that the commission, if this is something the commission is really interested in, we can kind of pursue that and see where it goes, and kind of what either standards or policies or measures would be needed, to make sure that they are preserved. But it is sort of a good, seems like an important piece of city history. So I guess with that, we're just here to present it to you, and then hear some discussion, maybe get some direction, next steps, but no formal action necessarily, final action. So.
Okay, great.
Hi, I'm Karen Moore, and I'm the community volunteer. And I wanted to talk to you about the historic sidewalk stamps in general first, because while the WPA ones are probably the most significant, there are a few others that I think, at least, I believe, warrant some consideration for preservation. So I'd like to talk about that, a little bit of background. I'd like to tell you a little bit about some of the recent events that I think show that we need a more formal city policy to protect them. And then if you wish, I can suggest some ideas on what next steps might be, because I have done a little bit of research and I have given it a little bit of thought. I know how busy staff is with many things that are much greater priority than small pieces of cement that are very old, but it is something that I think has some significance that we could easily work on adopting a city policy to. There's lots of stamps that you've actually seen in the Davis sidewalk if you take a lot of time walking around town looking down at them, and most of them I don't think warrant historic preservation. There's all kinds of marks like S's and W's for sewer and water lines. I don't think anybody would argue that those have historic value. But there are 2 types of stamps I'd like to call your attention to. The first are the WPA stamps, and we have about 35 of them left in town. I say about because when I did the inventory back in 2021, it was really hard to look at every single curb face because of parked cars, and basically you have this person walking around with some clippers so I could trim people's grass and shrubs back, and a broom to clean the sidewalk with, and most people were very nice, but a few people gave me a strange look. There's also red paint sometimes on the sidewalk that can obscure, or at least partially obscure them. So I say there's 35 of them, but there may be 1 or 2 more. Most of those stamps are in Old North, which happens to be the neighborhood that I live in. There's a good number remaining still in Old East, and there are a few that are in the downtown core area. Over time, there may have been more stamps back originally, but as the city did improvements and repairs to curbs, gutters, and sidewalks, those were sometimes destroyed. In addition to the WPA stamps, there's a subdivision that happens to be in Old North which was one of the earliest subdivisions in town, and that's called the Bowers Addition subdivision. It was created back in 1913, and it has some old sidewalk markings stamped in as well. This subdivision is a subdivision that is bordered by 6th Street on the south side and by 7th Street on the north side, by B Street on the west, and by G Street on the east. And if you walk around within that neighborhood, you're actually walking on some of the original 1913 sidewalks. In 2 locations, you can actually find stamps that say 1913, and throughout the neighborhood, the different lots have lot numbers, as well as property line markers, not surveyed necessarily by today's standards, but indicating where original lots were. This subdivision, as I said, was one of the oldest in Davis, and it was the very first that had paved sidewalks. It was kind of like a selling point for the subdivision. So those are the 2 types of stamps that I think warrant at least consideration for preserving them where feasible. And I stress the word where feasible because, of course, it's, you know, very old cement and concrete, and it can just fall apart. In terms of recent events that lead me to believe a more formal city policy is appropriate, as Eric has put in a report to you, I did this inventory in 2021, and that came out of an effort in 2020 when the city was about to award a bid to a contractor to do curb, gutter, and sidewalk and street repairs throughout town, but including within the Old North neighborhood where I live. And I knew immediately that the construction of new ramps, because we don't have ramps at every intersection, even to this day, would result in the destruction of WPA stamps unless something was done. So the Neighborhood Association contacted the City Council. The item was pulled off the consent calendar so they could briefly discuss it. And that discussion led to the council directing Public Works to work with the neighborhood to find out where the historic sidewalk marks were and to preserve them where feasible. So I walked around the neighborhood with a contractor and with a representative from the Public Works Department, and we did the best that we could to identify where the markings were going to be affected and to come up with a strategy to protect them. So the good news on that is that 4 stamps, WPA stamps that would have been lost were preserved, but 3 of them had to be relocated. And the process of relocating them was not ideal. One of the stamps, the curb needed to be cut, and it was cut too close to the actual imprint, so there was a little bit of cracking and damage to it. 2 of the curbs were cut out, and they were placed in one of the planter strips, but they were simply placed on top of the dirt or grass or whatever happened to be there with any sort of ground preparation. Now, I think this was done simply because it was me out there pretty much going, well, okay, well, I think if we need to cut it out, we need to cut it out. Can we put it over here? And the contractor was great, but there was no effort to try to prepare the ground for it and to be extra careful, which is why I think a more formal approach is recommended. In terms of, if you want me to talk in terms of what could happen next, I think I've given it some thought. And I think obviously the first step would be to identify what you think are historic stamps worthy of some sort of protection. And in my belief, it would be the WPA stamps and the stamps within the Bowers Addition subdivision. Second, I think you would ask the City Council to take action on this to identify the preservation as a policy. And I don't think it's something that would go through the formal designation process that's provided for in the zoning ordinance, but I think some sort of City Council resolution that says we'd like to preserve these where feasible. Now that language in a resolution might include language about that there will be times when they need to be relocated, that they cannot be preserved in place, and that there are times when the stamps may not even be able to be saved. In the inventory, I tried to take both pictures and provide written text that shows, hey, this stamp's got a big crack through it, or this stamp, there's no way you could save it and move it. In addition to the council action, I think one of the most obvious steps is to use the Public Works Department's standard specifications. They have all kinds of specifications about how you build curbs, gutters, and sidewalks, And they even have already standards about how to do the scoring that is found in, at least in the Old North neighborhood, so that that would be repeated. There are other cities that have standards have specifications that call for the preservation of their historic stamps. The city of San Diego, for example, has very specific standards about how much of a margin you should try to provide. In addition to these specifications, there can be notes put on them that say, if necessary, and these standards can't be met, then you work with the designated staff, Public Works, maybe in consultation with the planning staff, about making a variation from the preferred approach. In addition to the Public Works specifications in the existing, let me see if I get this name right, traditional residential neighborhood design guidelines, there already are standards about trying to maintain the historic scoring on the sidewalks and the WPA markers. So if you decided, for example, that the Bowers edition stamps are worthy of being preserved, then language could be adopted, added into the existing guidelines, so that if someone came into the planning department about making an adjustment to their property, it would also be here for them to be noted. I think the specifications and the guidelines would cover almost all of the stamps because they are in city right-of-way and in the two old neighborhoods, Old North and Old East. The ones in the downtown are also in the city right-of-way, so the specifications would cover that, but there is one possible exception. There is a very odd stamp, it's actually two stamps on one piece of curb that's found at Old City Hall. It's not in the city street though. The curb is actually at the southern border of the parking lot that separates that Old City Hall property from the PDQ building, which is next door. It's actually a curb that runs into a small planter area. I'm not sure if that's public right-of-way. I don't know exactly how far back the sidewalk and into the right-of-way, all of that. But since it's on a designated historic site, the Old City Hall property, I thought maybe information could be added to the inventory sheet on that building so that if someone came in to do site work, they would probably be contacting the staff anyway since it's a designated property, and therefore that could come up. The staff would go, oh, there's a WPA stamp there, and make sure that it was preserved, again, if feasible. This is a project that is not that big, really. This is a small amount of our history. It's not a big, grand bit of historic preservation, but I think it is worthy of some attention. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, and I'm happy to continue to work on the project. Again, I know how very busy staff is with some pretty important priorities, and if I can help, I'd be willing to do that. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for your report. It was an immense amount of work, and we really appreciate it. It was really easy to read, and I love the pictures. Can you describe a little bit about, I think you worked with the developer that is redeveloping the Hibbert lumber site, is that correct? And there's a WPA stamp there, and I think you managed to talk them into.
Yeah, that is exactly, that is another reason why I think a more formal policy is appropriate. So thank you for bringing that up. In that case, when Doug Busby, who's the project applicant, notified the Old North Neighborhood Association that they wanted to do this project on the old Hibbert property, one of my small questions was simply, does he know about the WPA stamp? And he didn't. That's not a big deal. It's in a very obscure, odd location in a driveway cut. Most of the WPA stamps are in curb faces, and there's a few that are in the driveway cut, and there's a couple on top of the sidewalk, and there's even like one in a gutter somewhere. But anyway, he had not seen it, so I met him out there, showed him what it would involve, and when it became apparent that they would need to redo the driveway cut that it is in, he agreed with me, went along with the idea of cutting it out and relocating it somewhere near its current position so that the public could still have a chance to see it. So he was willing to do that, because there's nothing in any city policy that says he would have to. And to work on that, since my experience about relocating the other stamps had not been ideal, I basically reached out to Eric and reached out to the chair if they could come up with a way to do a condition of approval that would require staff to look at the approach that the developer would take when the time comes to cut it out and put it back into place. And so that was added as a condition of approval on that project, again, because the project applicant accepted that. And if the project applicant hadn't been willing to do that, I would have been able to do nothing to get it done.
Question, what about the old Aces store, the one that demolished?
I'm not aware of any stamps there.
Because that's like 18th century, so it's much older than, most days.
And the WPA was 1938 and 1939.
Oh, okay.
So if something is older than the WPA, that would be why they didn't put it in. But they did put a lot of the curbs in, but I found none there. There is one on G Street, but not at that location. It's closer to the corner of 2nd and G Street, where the old Terminal Hotel used to be. The old building that was there, I can't remember what the new building was called. So.
Thoughts, questions, comments? Anything from your point of view?
I really like this. I love these. I've always liked these stamps, so I have a huge pro saving them. Has this neighborhood ever been considered for a district in the past? Has it been looked at?
Would, Old East or Old North?
Yeah, especially the 1930 subdivision, 1913.
Yes, they were not in favor of those designations at the time they
So it
were
could
proposed.
be concluded as part of the district. Okay.
Yeah.
But I like the action plan that you've laid out so far, if we can't go the district route.
And so I do want to, just, it's from my personal view, I think this is very good, what you have done. I'm talking about something else in general, about the preservation. I want to make sure, when I say I'm supporting, it's not mean the fund, the new one, so probably will be, I believe it's supporting many projects, but I want to make sure Shannon is not added. Any project I supported. And I think, Montgomery, you manage many property of belong to new one, so probably do you manage it? Like all my family properties or not?
I work in affordable housing, and I've never done a project in the city of Davis.
Or not? Okay, yeah, because I just want to make sure, it's not directly connecting, the funding. When I say support something, yeah. But I do support, any preservation for protecting, the history of Davis, yeah.
I would also like to point out, similar to how this came about in the first place, I do see ADA ramps going in most places now, so I do think this is important to protect before they are forced on this neighborhood.
I guess I have a question. So when they are cut out, are we trying to place them back within the context of a curb or wherever they were, or if it's a flat or a curb, the curb face or the top, are we trying to sort of put it back in a new version of that? Or is it now like kind of a monument in the area? You're not on, you're not, this is just an opinion.
The three that have been relocated already were put back near where they were.
Like as a part of the curb?
One as part of the curb.
Okay.
The other two, how to explain? At each of the intersections in Old North, because all three were in Old North, the actual corner had a very large, much bigger than regular curb width. piece of concrete.
Like this thing here?
Yes,
Okay.
and
This
they
one here.
could not, the contractor did not believe that they could lift that up because
Got it.
it's huge, and put it back into place. And so what they did was they lifted it up and they put it in that planter that it was originally right in
Oh,
front
okay,
of.
yes.
So they put it
I can see
right
the
there.
Yeah.
In,
Okay.
yeah, so that it would
Like
be,
on top of that ground.
it would be, right, yeah,
Like on top of the dirt.
yes.
I see. Okay.
Or the grass or whatever happened to be there. Both of the two locations where that happened, which are on F and at 6th, it was more like kind of grass, mostly weeds.
Yeah.
And so they are not like flush with the dirt. They are just kind of a little bit
Okay.
not
Maybe
ideal.
like an ideal preservation.
Yeah, I
of
don't think there was anything wrong with the location.
Great.
Okay.
Okay.
But I think I was very surprised that I think they just got some big piece of equipment because guys couldn't lift it and went plop.
So I guess we want to provide maybe some guidance to Public Works on what relocation means. Like, if possible, to relocate this, not formally historic, but city-specific piece of concrete within a curb or within the, wherever it was. And if not, to then work with a city designated representative to find an alternative location. I mean, right, because these are concrete guys.
Yeah, and it may be, because I know there was a subcommittee before, I think related to for the WPA markings, but I don't know how active it was or if it really got going.
Well, ask Commissioner Lally about it, because she has been the only one on it that.
And it's been,
Yes,
And-
we haven't done anything since Commissioner Bowery left, and I joined the committee like just as he was leaving the commission, so there wasn't really any communication on that piece, so I don't know where it was left off. I'd be happy if anyone has information to learn more about it and catch up with it.
yeah, and so maybe an option is for that subcommittee to, and it is it's not a permanent subcommittee, but it is, if it were kind of limited and kind of just assigned to this, that they could work with Karen Moore on it and maybe outline that plan that she was describing, if that was acceptable, then that could come back to the commission at some point for discussion on moving forward with something more specific like that.
I think that's probably a good idea, because I don't know that anyone has the answers at this
Right.
particular moment, and it probably looking at, let's say, the city of San Diego's guidelines would be informative to a plan to propose. Could that subcommittee start a discussion with Public Works, do you think?
Yeah,
About acceptable, proposals? I don't want to have people spend a lot of time on things and have a lot of pushback, because that's a waste for people.
Yeah, and I think, I can certainly help with that.
Okay, because we kind of need Public Works, we need the city council, I think a resolution identifying this would be helpful, and sort of we need more top-down direction, probably, because Public Works is going to do Public Works.
But if there's a proposal that,
Right,
coming
okay.
forward and between like preserving and then relocating, and then in some cases, that may not be, you may not be able to do that, or identifying, as Karen mentioned, which stamps might be, the focus, things like that would be probably helpful to give them an idea of what you're expecting and what you
Yeah,
like.
I think defining feasible would help too, because it's very vague language. I feel like if people want to do something, they can work
I
around.
feel, it's like antique. If you move, then it's not good anymore. It has to be at the original place. Like an antique, you paint it, it's worthless. So I just feel this thing should keep as the original place.
Well, that's the goal, is the original place, but if it has to be removed because an ADA ramp has to go in, I think then, we're not going to
Trying to do
stand
the next best thing.
in the way of people accessing the sidewalk legally. So then I think it would need to be relocated. That's my main questions. Yes, I think everything should stay in place. That would be the most.
So everything has a working around, that's my suggestion. And this reminded me the CDCO in 1888. Now we have a new one, sit there next to this Varsity Theater. Where's the original seal? That is big stamp. Before it moved away, I took a lot of pictures. So do we know the
No,
historical?
that one was a recent one.
Yeah,
was-
that's recent. Where's the old one?
I'm not aware that there was an old one. I mean, that was, the one that was in front, that is in front of Hunt Boyer
Yeah,
Mansion.
there's a new one, but there was an old one.
Not at that location.
No.
Or not nearby.
Well, Commissioner Lilly and Commissioner Castaneda, would you guys volunteer to maybe be on a small subcommittee and talk about this for the next
Yeah,
couple
so
months?
just to make sure this is
Yeah.
different than the WPA markings and building one?
No, that's that one,
That's that.
yeah,
It's that one, okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yes,
that one, which was time limited but never moved.
yes.
Yes, so that would be reconstituted, and you guys could maybe take the next couple months and we can have something to talk about in April. Does that sound like a reasonable
Sounds good.
timeline?
Absolutely.
Okay, so April. But did we need a vote of any sort? No, we were providing direction and talking about next steps. So I think I am fairly satisfied with this. Anyone have anything follow-up on the WPA sidewalk stamp draft report, including Ms.
Can I
Moore?
just-
Yes.
How about if I just send my contact, I know you have
Yes,
my email.
yes,
but
I
I'll-
know, all
I'll-
together, yes.
Yes,
I
yes.
I'll
should have talked
send
to
Jared
you.
my contacts
Yes.
and he can send me, and then you guys can reach out to me whenever you want to.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, item 7D, the 2022-2023 CLG, which is the Certified Local Government Annual Report Review. This was prepared by Eric, thank you very much. Circulated to us. It is not anything I think that we would generally have changes to, because it's a summation of the last year, so unless there's perhaps a public education seminar anyone attended, that would be awesome for next year. Please continue to send us anything that you see that's for free through the state. I did attend one, I think in 2021, and it was really interesting. So it was like a lunchtime thing too on Zoom. It was easy.
Would,
Yeah.
would NAGPRA laws, the Native American Graves, that, they just changed they updated it, and there's a lot of free, seminars right now.
Yeah,
I don't know
if you know of any, you can send to me and I can sort of distribute
Okay.
to the group too.
I don't know
If there's something that
Yeah,
is.
sure.
useful,
I
feel
mean,
free to do that.
not that we are ever in danger of not being a certified local government, but it just makes it look a little bit like we're participating
Yes.
in the general public education available, so.
Training is always great.
Yes, does anyone have any questions or revisions, or someone would like to recommend approval?
I just had one quick question.
Yeah.
No, this isn't something we need to change, but on page 11, it says whether or not you're able to participate in any of the free camp trainings in 2021. Would you like to see OHP fund camps in the future? What is that training? I mean, I don't
I'm not
necessarily.
sure, honestly.
Okay, okay.
Does it-
Actually, I did not find this copy. Could you send an email?
For the CLG, this report?
Yeah,
Yeah,
may I
okay.
have a copy? Do you have a copy?
Yeah, the easiest place is if you want to download it from, and this one that's filled out, so they send it to the staff person for it to fill out, but this copy is, it's in the agenda, or rather the meeting packet. It's-
Okay, so we don't know what those, okay.
Those were that was one of the ones I attended in
That's what I was
2021,
wondering. That's what I
yes,
thought,
it was
okay.
like this lunchtime seminar type thing.
Okay.
So yes, the answer is yes, we would love to see those, so.
Okay, yeah, can we change that then? 'Cause
Okay.
it says no right now,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Yes, that would be,
Would you change like information on this?
you tell Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can, yeah. I mean, if you have anything that you see, later, feel free,
Okay.
maybe
Oh.
within the next week.
Because I've been receiving his new emails, but
Okay.
anything else, UC Davis kicked us out of our emails.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, unfortunately. So yeah, if you see something else that might want to add, or you have a thought about, feel free to send it to me.
Yeah, I think that was just my only one, is if we could put yes there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can make that
Great.
change. And if you have any topics, I'm happy to.
Yeah.
add.
Any, so is there a recommendation of approval with the change to Commissioner Lale's contact information and the change to, yes, we'd like to see that, more camp seminars? Do I have a motion for that? Commissioner
Go ahead.
Castaneda, yes. Sure, yeah. Has moved, a second?
I'll
July 2nd. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. We're getting late in the evening. I think that on the subcommittee liaison assignment updates, these are intended to be ad hoc subcommittees, which are time limited in nature, because we cannot have standing committees. We would have to notice them via the Brown Act, so we do not need standing subcommittees, so I would strike the 3 committees listed here and leave the WPA marking and building as the ad hoc committee currently active. And I think that we can form more ad hoc subcommittees as we have business to discuss off with it without taking up, valuable meeting time. We can have a report back from a subcommittee at later meetings. So just that. If everyone is okay with that, I'd like to move forward with that. If there's an ad hoc subcommittee to deal with something on here, please let me know, but I think I've covered it. We don't really need one on the Pony Express since we don't have to do anything there. And I've harangued Eric enough about the College Park District Management Plan.
That's okay. I'll make that change.
And then I just have one point for the good of the order, and the public comment somewhat addressed this, but it was on my thoughts earlier, and you had just brought it up, is Old North and Old East both had not wanted to be historic districts in the past. I don't think we ever formally passed anything saying they weren't a district. They had historic overlay designations at some point, I think have gone.
Yeah, what I would say is, so for Old North, that was when they did the survey in 2003, they identified that as an eligible district because it was a concentration of the buildings, et cetera, but that the neighbors or the residents were not interested in an actual district, historic district, and so it became that conservation district with the guidelines. Old East was not eligible.
Oh, they weren't
because even though they have the biggest buildings, it doesn't have that concentration. It's sort of, they're scattered buildings, and there are other smaller ones in between that contribute to the character, but they were not.
Randy used to say there's not enough raisins in the raisin bread.
Exactly, because Old North is very identifiable.
Yes. Okay.
Style, but Old East was not.
That perhaps when we return to our work plan, at some point we may want to add some of those things. So. But we could push that off perhaps till April. It looks like, go ahead.
Can I ask what the overlay protection means? Never mind.
Yeah, I mean, it's a zoning device, a zoning district actually, where that allowed the design guidelines to be
implemented.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there weren't, in its design guidelines, it was a little squishier, and it was more about the character of the area and ensuring that either additions or new development was compatible, but it didn't require a preservation per se in that same way.
So,
kind of just like notifying it or something.
Do you think I can ask you a question? And I saw today as this announcement, it says, ordinance number 2655, do you aware of this? Rezone the 3 property comprising the city wastewater treatment plant. Do you know about this?
I don't know. Can I talk to you after, and maybe we can look at that after?
Okay, yeah, because there's a 3 APN, and I wasn't aware was that it's
They're out in the county. They're way out in the county. It's a wastewater treatment plant.
Okay, because I was wondering where is this located? I just read this from
Remember what road the treatment plant's on? It's
Is it
many
is it like a
miles
29A or one of those? 30A? I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Oh, is it out there by the landfill?
Yeah,
Yeah.
way out there.
Oh,
Not north, it's more that way.
It's next to the Wild Horse, that was.
No, it's not.
It's not.
Oh, no, way past that. Okay, long-range calendar, we have a meeting scheduled for March 18th. I don't think we have any, well, first of all, that's in like 3 weeks. So we would have to have business coming before you to come before us now, and I don't believe there is any, which is, so we will probably not have the March 18th meeting, but it's on everyone's calendar. So likely we will have a meeting in April to discuss anything of business.
So, there's no meeting?
There's likely, but has not yet been canceled. We will see if there's something that comes up in the next week.
So, and my term is under like June, is that right?
2025, right? I
2025?
think your term. I think the terms right now are staggered between 2025 and then maybe 2027.
27 is what I,
Yeah.
yeah.
2/1/27 and
So
everyone else is
I'm
20.
almost out of them, you know. I was
June
wondering.
30th, 2025, yeah.
Let me think about it.
Yeah, thank you, but I don't expect a March meeting, it's coming up quickly, there's nothing immediate, but would like to probably get back together in April,
Yeah.
we can report back.
Would April be the 15th or the 27th?
It's the third Monday,
Okay. It just threw me off that it was like
Oh, it's
mid-month
early,
since the
yeah.
first is on a
Monday.
Monday.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
yeah, it's the 15th,
So,
so that's soon.
Yes.
I do have a question about the, you know, I am the owner of this farm called the New One Soul Property. It owns a lot of property. Even though I haven't figured out, you know, I'm still working on getting my hands on my family.
Is this in the city of Davis?
Yeah, many of,
Okay.
like property. So I was wondering if this conflict of interest, and also when I say I'm supporting, is that people can take the fund out from, you know, so I try to figure out that. I would like to know, you know, otherwise if it's not,
Yeah,
if there's a
could-
conflict of interest or not.
okay, can I talk to you, maybe we can talk a little bit afterwards, and
Sure,
I think we're
because-
almost
Mhm.
for the meeting, okay.
Yeah, because that concerns, should I continue to be the commissioner or, and, you know, it's not very active, and I go to other meetings, I feel, you know, very interesting, so I'm wondering, should I keep? That's why I'm asking you, you know, because I don't want,
Yeah.
because of my personal opinion, affect other people's, you know, project. That's,
Well, let's finish the meeting, and then I can let's chat.
All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion.
Commissioner Lally, second. Anyone?
I will.
Commissioner Bessie, and all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, 8:32. Thank you all.
Thank you.